Welcome in. It's a homecoming weekend here in Clemson, South Carolina. Also a Halloween night as we get you ready for the Clemson-Duke kickoff. That's noon tomorrow in Death Valley on the ACC network. We'll find out if people on YouTube TV are going to be able to watch the game tomorrow, as they're now in a battle with Disney and ESPN and all that.
Probably not.
Yeah. So we're going to have a good time tonight. My good friend Will Vandervoort, senior writer for the Clemson Insider. Give him a follow on Twitter, @SteelerWill, me, @Sturgis Sports. And like I said, we'll take a look back to the loss against SMU, a look through ACC and national football, and close up with a look at the Duke game tomorrow. But, Will, both teams are coming off a bye, so you're going to see about as two or well-rested teams as you will for a November 1st matchup as you will tomorrow in the Valley.
Yeah, two teams coming off a loss too. So they're coming off a defeat as well, and so both teams are going to be hungry. Duke, obviously, I think, has got the upper hand a little bit, in my opinion, when it comes to the injury situation. Clemson's really beat up. We're going to go over that a little bit later. But, it was a good bye week. Dabo said earlier this week that if Clemson had played last week, a lot of guys would have missed the game. So good bye week for Clemson to get a little bit healthy, and possibly the best part is the guy who might be playing quarterback for him tomorrow.
Yeah, we shall see, because, we can get into so many euphemisms, but maybe the biggest one is you are what you are at 3-4 on November 1st. So, let's be honest. I want to keep it positive, but as a longtime Clemson fan, and you covered it through, the championships as well, how did it go this way in just 1 year that you're literally thinking, can Clemson possibly lose to SMU and Duke at home in back-to-back games?
So you're asking me
how? How did this happen? I don't know. I get asked all the time. I did not see this coming.
Of course
Maybe
not.
I bought into a little bit more up in Charlotte back in July, a little bit of sleight of hand, if you will. But if you would have asked me that Clemson would be 3-4, 2-3 in the ACC headed into tomorrow's contest back in July, I'd have told you you're nuts. But It turns out I don't know anything about college football this year.
Well, I don't think anybody does, because a lot of teams, Texas, LSU, they're not doing well either. LSU fired their coach, but to ask
and their
how,
athletic director
and their AD, that's right. But to ask the how or why Clemson is in this situation now, I think it's really simple. To me, it comes at the lines of scrimmage. They just haven't played well on either the offense or the defensive line, and it's been a constant struggle all year in both those situations. Defensive line, it's not that they're bad; they're just inconsistent. They just sometimes take a play off, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they look like All-Americans, the next times they look like, they play at Newberry. No offense, Newberry. And then there's the offensive line, which looks like they're a middle school offensive line. I mean, I'm being serious. I've seen middle school offensive lines better than Clemson's offensive line this year. Not a single guy on there has played well the entire season. Injuries have definitely played a part of that, but you got veteran guys in there, and all we heard was they're so much better on the offensive line, and they got so much more depth than they've had. Haven't seen it. Haven't seen it from anybody. They've been inconsistent. They've been awful. They're just not very good on the offensive line.
And you can't run the ball when you need to.
Can't pass protect.
I go back to one series in the SMU game, and it's easy to cherry pick at that part, but you were down 7. You needed, it might have been 10. You needed to just keep up picking first downs, keep the ball out of SMU's hand, and you throw a pass that should have been caught on 3rd and 1 to, I think it was Jerron Brown. The SMU guy hit him hard in the back, and he dropped it. And then Peter Woods comes in on 4th and 1, and the entire stadium knew what was going to happen, and then instead of running up the middle, he runs off tackle. Clemson gets stopped. SMU gets the ball. There was your ball game in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, listen, every time Clemson scored, SMU scored.
Mm-hmm.
Every time.
They had the answer.
They had an answer every time, and you can't do that. There was no – and then in the first half, the defense was getting stops, and the offense was going 3 and out. So the defense did its job in the first half. Offense didn't. Second half, offense did its job. Defense didn't. So there was no what's the word I'm looking for? Dabo says it all the time.
Consistency?
Well, consistency, but when you're helping each other.
Oh, everybody playing as a unit,
Nobody,
helping
they
each
weren't
other
they weren't
out.
playing together. And it was unfortunate, but that's how they've been playing all year, with the exception of those 2 games against Boston College and North Carolina. They just really haven't played well together for a whole game, and so that's been the problem all year.
All right, so you were around on Tuesday. First thing most people are going to ask in that noon kickoff tomorrow, will Cade Klubnik be under center, or will it be Christopher Vezina again? Because let me tell you, I didn't think the SMU loss could be laid on Vezina's hands.
No.
He played much better than I expected him to. And quite frankly, I think he may have at least showed a little bit to the coaching staff that, once he got in the game flow, I thought he made some good decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I think once he got the crazy thing, what got him going was an incomplete pass. He throws a bomb to Bryant Wesco down the middle of the field. Wesco's wide open, and he drops the pass, but after that, a few plays later, he throws a touchdown pass to T.J. Moore, and it was obvious he was very confident in himself at that point, and finished the game 29 of 42, I believe, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He played very well. He was not the reason why. Now, he did hang on to the ball a little bit, which allowed SMU to get 4 sacks. He did get a strip fumble because of one of those, and that led to no, it didn't lead to a score. Clemson's defense actually held them, but still it was a turnover.
Right.
So, those are things he's got to work on. But I think for tomorrow, to answer your question, you're going to see Cade Klubnik. He was listed as probable for this game, which means 95% chance he's going to play tomorrow. He'll probably heavily wrap. That ankle will be, I guarantee it. I don't know. The question is like, how healthy will he be?
Yeah.
And will he be available in the run game at all? That's what I want to – interesting things I want to see in that game tomorrow, because if Cade Klubnik's not in the run game, Manny Diaz is just going to load up the box and say, okay, you guys show me you can beat me consistently with the passing game.
So do you think you'll see any type of different rotation at running back tomorrow when the younger guys get more of a chance here? Because, at this point, I've had a lot of Clemson fans and even South Carolina fans, what do Clemson and South Carolina have left to play for this year? They might as well hang it up. Well, first of all, there's this thing called pride. If you believe in yourself and you believe you're good, guess what? You go out there and do the best you can every week. That's called pride. Secondly, there's still one of those things that they have up on the board every year available come the end of November. That's the state championship, right? Number 3, there's still a boat. So I don't want to hear from disappointed Clemson fan, maybe not Clemson alumni, but there's nothing left to play for this year. Yeah, if you got an ounce of pride, you have something left to play for starting tomorrow at noon.
Well, Ashton Hampton said that what they had to play for is they got to play for Clemson.
Right.
And I like that answer. That was
And
a really
that's
good
pride.
answer. Play for – he said, we're going to play for the fans. We're going to play for Clemson, the name that's on the front of our chest. And that's the way he should have been playing all year, in my opinion. But I'm glad to see they're going to try. That's what they're going to do now. We'll see if that holds true tomorrow, because, you can say one thing, but what are your actions, right? And so I'm interested to see what they do tomorrow and how they come out when they come down the hill. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I'd be surprised. Maybe because it's homecoming, it'll be close to a sellout. But I'll be surprised if it is, because right now there are as you mentioned, a lot of Clemson fans aren't happy. But that's a good thing. You'd rather fans be either joyous and excited or unhappy, because that means that's a fan base that cares.
Right.
And that's the best thing that comes out of it. You don't want a fan base that has apathy. So at least there's not apathy.
Well, apathy may have set in the upstate of South Carolina is a very, very growing place quickly. And there were a lot of people that moved in and picked up Clemson as their team when they came. And this is the first time they've seen them struggle in 16 years. And now they're just shunning them off to the side. And that's why I say you got a difference between fan, you have a difference between alumni. Alumni are going to be there year in, year out. Fans are going to be there game in, game out, depending on how they feel about it. Also on Tuesday was Media Day. So after having the week off, what did you get from the coaching staff and some of the leaders on the team? Because, you still got a chance to close this thing out with a bunch of wins. And you know what? This may be the year that you look at the ACC and go, if we fight our way into bowl eligibility, just do with us what you need to. We'll take it on the chin this year. Send us to San Diego. Send us to El Paso. Send us to one of those places, and we'll just go play the game.
Yeah, I mean that's what happened if you get bowl eligible.
Yeah.
So you kind of I think if you're Dabo, you just like to have those extra practices with some of the young players they'll have coming back. The question is, if they get to a bowl game, who will be playing?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to now, because the players don't play anymore in bowl games, as we know. And so that's the thing that sucks about bowl games now. But it is a sense of, Clemson's got a streak. They're one of the longest, I think the second longest in college football, with 20 straight bowl game appearances or college football playoff. They've been bowl eligible. I think it's the second longest. Obviously, both behind Georgia, by the way. But since 1999, they've been bowl eligible every year. So those are things they're playing for. You haven't had a losing record in the ACC since 1998. Haven't had a losing record since 2010 overall. So there's a lot of things that you just want to make sure you keep your program above that line, because consistency does mean something. And, granted, they're not going to get that 10-win season this year. They're not going to, they might not get 9 wins. But if you can get that possibility, getting 8 wins is still there. And by the way, here's another thing, Mark, to talk, maybe a subject to talk about another day. But in the new world of college football, it's about free agency almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about how the game is structured now, do we need to hold back on the expectations of 10-win seasons and 11-win seasons? And the reason I say that is because if you look at the NFL, they play a 17-game season. If you go 12-5 in the NFL, you're winning your division,
right,
more than likely. But you're winning less than 70% of your games. And you still make the playoffs, and you have a chance to play for the Super Bowl, maybe get even home field advantage in the playoffs. Well, college football, 12-5 is the equivalent to 9-3.
Right.
And 8-4 is right on the cusp of that. So, you're really not in the bad shape as you think you are.
Well, but the one good thing about the 12-team playoff is the fact that that you can start off with a loss, and back when it was a 4-team playoff,
maybe
and
2
Clemson
losses.
lost to Georgia 34-3 to begin the year, or even 10-3 up in Charlotte. You're almost thinking, wow, if they don't win the ACC championship, it's done. So I do like the fact that, I keep telling all my friends in the NFL right now, which the Falcons are terrible, and that's all we get up in North Georgia for sports talk. But I'm like, it's not how you're playing now in the NFL. It's how you're playing in late December.
Right.
You want to be rounding into shape, rounding into form. You don't want to peak too early. And that's one of those things that I do worry about with college football now is, can a team peak too early?
Yeah, and then look at this. Clemson last year got in the playoffs with 3 losses.
Yes.
So you can lose 3 times and still make the playoffs. So that's the thing that you got to understand about. The game has changed now. You don't need to go undefeated or 11-1 or anything like that. You just need to get in the dance. If you get in the dance, you got a chance. Now, granted, Clemson's not going to get in the dance this year. But it doesn't mean everything's gone to pot,
right,
and the program's down the toilet and everything.
Well,
it's one real good recruiting portal class, and they're right back where they need to be.
And it also shows it's not your God-given right to be in the playoffs every year. I mean, I
it is for my Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah. No, I'm not going there yet. All right, so. But you look, LSU, the dysfunction that they turned into. Now the governor's fired their athletic director and said, you won't be hiring any coach. It's going to be a committee we put together. This dysfunction and clown show, as your buddy Jason Priester calls it, may end up helping college football or college athletics in the long run.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get a little bit of that toothpaste back in the tube, which we rarely ever see. But, Penn State, gone, fired. Their head coach. The day and age has changed, and look, everybody was ready to throw me under the bus after the first game of the year, being a Bama grad. Week number 8, here they are, one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the country. So again, it's not how you begin, it's how you end. Unfortunately, this year it won't end up with a playoff berth or an ACC championship, but it still can end with a lot of positivity. But you want to talk about All-American?
Yes, I do.
Here at Lakeside Lodge, Thanksgiving Day, all right?
Okay.
You want to come be an All-American? Do you want to come be a hero to your family? Do you really want to be a hero to your wife, your girlfriend, your significant other? Then come here. You can make your reservations for Thanksgiving lunch here. They will be feeding from 11:30 to 2:30, all right? Check this out, Will.
3 hours.
For $32, right?
Yeah.
6 different styles of meats, including ham, turkey, ribs, wings, flounder, and meatloaf. All right.
Here.
More than 10 sides, including mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, greens, dressing, sweet potato casserole, all that kind of good stuff, and a whole multiple amount of desserts, and only $32. You can call right here to Traditions on the Lake at Lakeside Lodge. That phone number 722-2800. That's 864-722-2800, and you can make your reservation. And let me tell you, it's not only awesome, it's fantastic not to have to spend the rest of the day cleaning up your house after a big meal.
You had me at 6 different meats.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't think you can beat that. Of course, everything they do here is top notch. Besides, I guess, have us here, Raggy.
Yeah. Zoink, Scoob.
Sorry, I had to. It's a little cool in here. We've got the
Scooby-Doo, where are
we got
you?
the band playing inside, and this little extra layer really came in healthy tonight. So, but again, we're here at Lakeside Lodge in Clemson. You can't beat this place. Find it online, lakesidelodgeclemson.com. You can stay here. You can own a condo, put it into the rental program. Everything right there on the website at lakesidelodge.com. Also, the Clemson Insider. Will, that's your website. Give people an idea outside of my favorite thing, the price point. It's free.
Right.
Hey, man, if it's free, it's for me. All right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on right now as we're talking everything Clemson football and Clemson recruiting. Man, the next couple weeks and months is going to be crazy at Clemson with whatever changes Dabo Swinney makes and whatever that is. But we'll be having it at the Clemson Insider. The transfer portal is going to be big this offseason, we feel like. So you're going to want to tune into that come January. Recruiting, obviously, is right at the end, right there at the end of the football season. So a lot of things going on, a lot of things. You can go check it out at the Clemson Insider. Oh, men's and women's basketball starts up on Monday. So we'll have all the coverage from both the men's and the women's basketball. So go check us out at theclemsoninsider.com.
I mean, listen, I lived in Knoxville for a long time when Pat Summitt was just winning national championships, and the Lady Vols created their own program. What South Carolina has done with Don Staley might even taken it a step further. But, I mean, the Lady Vols kind of created an entire wing of the athletic department when it came to women's sports in Knoxville. If you ever thought and asked me back then, would Clemson women's basketball ever have a number 1 ranked recruiting class? I laughed at you and said,
Sean Poppy, man, he's doing a great job.
I'm telling you, Sean Poppy is absolutely another 5-star commit from, I think it was up in Ohio.
Yeah.
And so listen, big things. And of course, I told you about what happened with the Brian Kiersey and doing the interview with him. It's also hard to fathom that Brad Brunell's now the grandfather of ACC basketball coaches.
How about that?
18, 17
No,
years?
he's in the 16th season.
Okay, but anyway, he is now the grandfather of ACC basketball coaching. When we come back, hey, let's take a look at some other games in the ACC. There are a few games of national interest, a couple of other pieces of info. Then after that, we'll take a look at what Duke brings to the table in that noon kickoff in the Valley tomorrow on the ACC Network.
To the innovators, the disruptors, the game changers, the ones who brave the frontiers of knowledge with relentless curiosity. There is a place where you belong, a place that gives you an advantage. Furman is your launch pad, your proving ground, your home. Here you're not just learning, you're evolving, igniting, propelling from who you are to who you're destined to be.
It's more than football.
Let's all come together to be a bridge builder through this great game to change the lives of the people in the state of South Carolina.
Together, we can be a voice to help educate, encourage, and empower excellence in our youth and community.
Join the movement and help support all that the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame is doing to embrace this mission of celebrating, recognizing, and encouraging excellence.
I'm here at one of my favorite places in Greenville. That's Tip It Back Sports Grill, 215 Pelham Road here in the Commons at Pelham. And listen, there's a lot going on at Tip It Back here during the week. First of all, there's happy hour, Monday through Friday, 3 to 7 p.m. There's great food. They're open at noon for lunch. But Mondays, you can enjoy live trivia at 7 p.m., then Monday Night Football. On Thursdays, it's football and then karaoke. On Friday night, some of the best live entertainment in the upstate. And then Saturday, it's football all day and finishes off with karaoke. And then Sunday, it's NFL football. And if you're a Steelers fan, this is your spot. It's the home for the Steelers. They're on the broadcast here in the bar all day long. That's Tip It Back Sports Grill. Check them out. It'll be your home for college football.
All right, welcome back in. We're live at Lakeside Lodge, getting you ready for the Tigers and the Blue Devils. Kickoff at noon tomorrow. Real quickly, be remiss if I don't mention StraightUpSports.net. You know, as we are now switching to games both on the hardwood floor and the gridiron, we're going to have you covered there at Straight Up Sports. If you want to laugh at me, all right? I sometimes I have the feeling you can't laugh at others if you can't laugh at yourself.
And I do all the time.
All right, so, you know, last weekend, Clemson was off. I'm down
Myself, that is.
Yeah, I'm down in Jacksonville with the band. And before they play in the Florida Theater, 1,700 people, of course, Alabama and South Carolina's in the second half. So when we get to the Florida Theater, it's 15-14 South Carolina, and then they have the bad call where the Bama guy gets blocked into the ball on the punt, and, you know, Carolina goes up 22-14. I get thrown out of the dressing room for the band and said, get out of here, you know, because I've told you Alabama plays better if I don't watch. So I end up 2 landings above the dressing room in this 100-year-old theater listening for any type of thing that I could. That is my article telling you what I went through Saturday night, just going, please don't let the outcome of a football game ruin your night that you've been working on for 2 years. So go make fun of me on that one. It'll give you a little bit of an
Luckily,
idea.
you didn't have to worry about that.
I didn't. And you know what? I hate to say this. It's not that. I just didn't want 50 texts from my South Carolina friends coming in while the show was going on.
No, South Carolina fans don't do that.
And my friends do. So, all right, 7:30 tonight, a battle of disappointments in the ACC. Bill Belichick and crew. Whoever thought that Bill Belichick would be coaching tonight and Brian Kelly would be fired at LSU, but you got North Carolina at Syracuse. I'm guessing Syracuse going to win that game, but they've been a disappointment under Fran Brown in year number 2.
Syracuse now,
they don't have a quarterback.
They don't have a quarterback, and their defense is awful. So maybe North Carolina gets that first ACC win tonight.
All right. Do you think there's a chance at noon tomorrow? Number 10 Miami, now 6-1 after the loss to Louisville, at SMU, who finally took a loss in conference play at Wake Forest last week in a game that the Demon Deacons tried to give them 100 times over. And don't look now, that's another source of contention is Wake Forest. But could we all of a sudden see Miami and Carson Beck go from one of the front runners for the Heisman Trophy and an automatic playoff bid to losing tomorrow and having 2 conference losses and scrambling to make Charlotte if they can?
Miami will lose 2 conference games, but it won't be this week.
Okay.
This won't be the game they lose. It'll be down the road. Probably, in that
I thought it was
state of Pennsylvania.
So Carson Beck.
In that stadium called Acrisure.
Yep. I thought it was so Carson Beck after the loss to Louisville to go out and start blaming his wide receivers for not running the right routes.
Well, that's what I do. I blame you for a horrible show.
That's fine, but you know what? My delivery's better than Carson Beck's as well. No, I told you, I sat there and watched him up in Charlotte, and there was nothing that made me feel like I could buy into this guy with 2 minutes left in the game, and I think it was proven yet again against Louisville, who, by the way, undefeated in ACC. No, they lost to Virginia, right? Louisville 6-1.
Louisville 6-1, yeah.
At Virginia Tech tomorrow, is showing a little bit of life now there with Philip Montgomery as interim head coach.
3-5 and showing a little bit of life, and we'll see what they do tomorrow. That's a home game. Virginia Tech is always a tough place to play. no matter who you are. And Louisville's not perfect by no stretch, as we've not seen.
There's no every ACC team's got a big zit on their nose somewhere. It's just a question about where it is. 3:30 tomorrow, Notre Dame. Again, they'll take care of Boston
Speaking
College.
of a big zit.
Yeah,
Boston
1-7.
They got too much pus in that
right.
nose.
But Notre Dame, every game they play from here on out, in my opinion, is an elimination game. They can still get in the playoff with 2 losses if you considered how they lost to Texas A&M.
Who might be the best team in the country.
Yes, who might. But if they are 9-3 and not playing in a championship game, I think they're toast when it comes to a potential college football. And now you're seeing Freeman's name come up in other coaching searches. So that, to me, is this coaching carousel is going to be fantastic. We'll get to that in a minute. Also at 3:30 tomorrow, Pitt 6-2 head across the country to the Farm to take on Stanford 3-5.
This is a Pat Narduzzi special. This is the game Pat Narduzzi kind of loses.
Yep.
He's right in the thick of things in the ACC race right now. If he can get over this game and not lose it, he'll be right where he needs to be. But this is a game, if you're a Pitt fan, you're worried because, it's something about living in Pittsburgh where, the Steelers or the Panthers, they go on the road and they go and lose to a horrible football team, and so this is a game I could see Pitt losing because Stanford, though 3-5, they're not awful. I tell you what, good thing Clemson don't play Stanford this year because I think Stanford would beat them because Clemson's just awful at the lines of scrimmage.
Well, at 3:45, you got the surprise number 15 Virginia 7-1 with that one loss coming at NC State in a non-conference game. That one's going to be hard for me to kind of deal with as we get into positioning, but they're at Cal 5-3 over under. Who has the larger crowd out there in Northern California, Cal or Stanford? I'll go Cal.
I'll go Cal also. Oh. And by the way, Virginia's playing with fire the last couple of weeks. They easily could have lost both those games. Tony needs to get them on track where they hold on to a lead and they're not sweating it there.
But you know what? I think that's just what they are, which is a team that may or may not win. And right now, they're getting all the good luck things happening because they had 4 years of bad luck going on in that program. Yeah, so, all right, 7:30, number 8, Georgia Tech 8-0 at NC State 4-4. Yeah, Georgia Tech is going to go make that a 40-minute game. That's what they do. They go out there with 2 6 or 7 minute drives that just sucks the clock out. Last week, if you look, they opened the game with a 6-minute drive and punted on it.
Yeah.
Okay? So, also, you started hearing Chip or some mentions that Dave Doran would be retiring here at the end of the year yesterday, which he came out and refuted in a press conference. But
then he's getting fired.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Who are you going to go get? This year, a lot of coaches are going to keep their jobs because
go get a coordinator.
Schools are going to look and go, who can we get any better than what we're getting rid of?
But I think you don't stay with mediocre either. However, this is a great example of the Atlantic Coast Conference, okay? Georgia Tech's number 8. Everybody and their mom is talking about them. Everybody's talking about how they could be in the playoffs and they could contend for a national championship. Their quarterback is a Heisman Trophy contender, all this stuff. And guess what's going to happen tomorrow night? They're going to go to Raleigh. Those students are going to be NC State students. They're going to be
350-pound guy waving.
They're going to be. Let's just say they're going to have a lot of adult beverages in them, and that place is going to be rowdy. Because I'm going to tell you, NC State can get rowdy at night. That's going to be a good environment. I will not be surprised if NC State wins that game.
All right.
I will not.
Source of contention. Their coach quit, says, I don't want nothing to do with this NIL crap anymore. And, it was a guy we always said did more with less, and that was Dave Clawson at Wake Forest. And don't look now. Wake's now 5-2 at Florida State 3-4. Clemson's 3-4.
They should be 6-1.
No kidding. So that's why
leading the ACC.
That's why I can't get over. Clemson might be looking at losing back-to-back games at home to SMU and Duke. And Wake's 5-2 after a coaching change, and bringing a guy across the country from Washington State.
70 new players, by the way, on that team, and they're at FSU. My question is FSU already called it quits?
Yeah, I think they have. I think Norvell's done. I really do.
If he loses this game, does he get fired?
I think so. I think they may have to get in front of it a little bit because they are going to be battling their brother. University of Florida is looking for a head coach as well. All right. At noon, number 9, Vanderbilt, 7-1. At number 20, Texas, 6-2. I will go ahead and say that's a playoff elimination game.
It is. And here's the thing that's interesting about Texas is who's going to be quarterback.
That's it.
Obviously, a concussion, right?
Yep.
It is
concussion
with
protocol.
But Vandy they had game day last week. It reminds me of Clemson 2006, and I think what I mean by that is they hosted game day, had this, and the next week they went to Virginia Tech and just had a letdown and got hammered. I think they're gonna get hammered because Texas is talented. We know that. Sarkisian is one of the best coaches in college football. I think it's time to come back to earth for Vanderbilt. Texas, I think, is going to win that game.
All right, 7:30. What do you think about number 18 Oklahoma, 6-2? Big win they got staying alive. At number 14 Tennessee, 6-2 as well. Again, what I said about the previous matchup. This feels like a playoff elimination game.
It is, yeah, for at least this week anyway. Then
now,
the next week is.
If Venables say ends up now 7-5 and 8-4, is that going to be good enough for Brent to keep his job,
Yeah.
or is it going to be one of those deals that Oklahoma looks and goes, we're competing with Penn State and all these other schools, Florida for maybe you just keep Brent. Same
If he's
thing.
8-4, I think yes. 7-5,
Okay.
I don't know. 8-4, yes. But I think they win this game tomorrow. I think they're better on defense. I think Tennessee's defense is awful. And Tennessee's 6 wins. Tell me who's good in those 6 wins.
Hey, don't look now, but I've always liked this guy. Cincinnati head coach Scott Satterfield now has the Bearcats back in the polls, number 17, 7-1. They're at number 24, Utah. So that's a big game tomorrow night. Outside of that, before we get out, I want to ask you about a couple of coaching situations, all right? Because I think this is terrible for college football that when we have 10 Power 4 coaches now being paid $250 million to not do their job next year. Don't tell me this isn't the greatest sport in the world. Don't tell me this isn't the greatest country on the face of this earth when you can be paid a check for $53 million to go, don't show up and do your job.
Or get locked out of the facility.
Yes. All right. So, where does I have some, and I'm not trying to stir up anything, Carolina fans, but what happens if
South Carolina
Lane
fans.
Kiffin and Ole Miss win? South Carolina's now sitting at 3-6, has Clemson still to go. Virginia Tech's
That's
job
at
is
Texas
open.
A&M to
Yeah,
go.
has that. Virginia Tech's job's open. Might it be the right timing for Shane Beamer if he could get that Virginia Tech job to take it only for this fact and this fact only? You usually get to reset the clock when you take over a new job. I don't know. South Carolina's a tough place to win. Shane Beamer's had a couple of good years there by South Carolina standards, but if they're sitting at 5-7, not in a bowl game this year, I can tell you that's not going to be a very happy crew down in Columbia.
But if they beat Clemson,
If they did, then all bets
that's
are off.
3 out of
That's all
4
bets are
years.
off, right.
That's 3 out of 4 years, and he's going to get a statue made of himself. So it all comes down to that last game for Shane Beamer. I think he sticks it out, and he goes and tries to beat Clemson, and they end the season on a positive note. They go 5-7 in that sense, and fans are happy because they beat Clemson.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think that's
I
it.
was just wondering because this whoever thought the only power football team or FBS football team in the state of South Carolina with a winning record right now would be Coastal when they started off as bad as they did
And they
this
won
year.
4 of the last
4,
5?
yeah, they killed. They beat Marshall last night at home. I think they're 5-3 now.
Yeah,
so.
there we go.
All right. Before we get out of here, again, I want to tell you about our good friends here at Lakeside Lodge. Listen, it's a condo hotel. When we get done tonight, Odyssey
To the innovators,
Dance Band. I'm talking,
Get down
they'll do
to
the
it.
whole, yes, everything from
to it.
KC and the Sunshine Band, everything else. We're all dressed up for Halloween. Next weekend, we'll start reverting back to acoustic shows inside, which is Dave Landio from Charleston next weekend. But just come by here and check out this place. Come and try Traditions on the Lake. It's like no other menu you're going to see here in Clemson. Again, everything you need to know about this wonderful facility right there at lakesidelodge.com. Also, one more little tidbit of information. Your sponsor, my sponsor, Smoke on the Water.
Yes, give me the update.
If everything goes off in a perfect world, we're looking at maybe Black Friday to be open. All right?
Okay, nice.
Has to sit there for apparently X amount of days with something in the window that if anybody wants to come and complain about, they get time to go complain. I don't get it all. Yeah, too much government when it comes to opening
Red
a
tape, red
restaurant.
tape.
But Smoke on the Water, it will be open in December at the latest. And listen, it looks absolutely fantastic. And I was by there last week, and I'm telling you, Mike, if you're going to do things, do it right the first time, and that's exactly what Mike Schuler has done. It's 33 Beacon Drive right there off Pelham Road. Again, going to be open here hopefully in 4 weeks, and it'll be worth the wait. I promise you, the same old great food plus a couple other things being added in, and an area that, quite frankly, is going to be a lot bigger. The kitchen is so much better set up for him, so he got thrown a pretty big knuckleball in life, considering there's Game 6 of the World Series tonight. With all this, he's going to end up being better in the long run. So
Absolutely.
We're very, very thankful for what Mike does for your podcast. And of course,
Absolutely.
what he does
I appreciate
for me.
Mike all the time.
All right, when we come back, we'll close up shop. We'll look at this Duke-Clemson game tomorrow and give you our thoughts here on Straight Up with Sturge, live from Lakeside Lodge.
Guys, we've got you covered this football season at straightupsports.net. We have the best retired writers assembled on one staff in the state of South Carolina, like Bob Gillespie, formerly of the State newspaper, Scott Kiefer from the Greenville News, me from ESPN Upstate. We even have a student reporter, McCain Childress, down on the coast, doing some Citadel and coastal things for us. But we'll change out the links and articles every week with some of the best stories. That's the key, the best stories you're going to see. Check us out, straightupsports.net.
My name is Shania Gullidge, and I work here at Traditions on the Lake. One of the things that I definitely think makes this place so special is the warm and welcoming environment. There is nothing on the menu that I do not like, and I'm typically a super picky eater, but there is literally not one thing that I wouldn't recommend. I think Traditions is definitely a perfect spot for a family. It is the perfect environment to bring your kids, very warm and inviting. It's just a very beautiful environment all around.
Kirk Fisher is a motorcycle attorney with first responder experience. He protects fellow riders and those in danger, fighting fires and fighting for your rights. Experienced, determined, and dedicated. Iron Horse Motorcycle Lawyers. Look for motorcycles, or Kirk Fisher will be looking for you.
All right, welcome back in. Final segments. We get you ready for the Tigers and the Blue Devils tomorrow in the Valley. That is a noon kickoff on the ACC network. Again, if you're a YouTube TV subscriber, you might be wanting to think, whether you can get the game tomorrow, but that's also going to affect everybody in the restaurants and bars that doesn't have like a satellite TV deal. So I don't know what to tell you to do. Maybe just tune in to the Clemson flagship station and listen to my friends Don Munson and Tim
Tiger
Murray
pregame show tomorrow. Start there at 6 a.m.
Do you got to get up at the
No,
bowels
this
of
is not my
darkness?
game this week. I got to do it though with Louisville and then South Carolina and Columbia. So I'll be getting up
but
in
Louisville's
Columbia
a
for
night
that.
game on a Friday night. I swear.
South Carolina's not though. I'm gonna be in Columbia at 5 in the morning, dude. There ain't nothing worse. Ain't nothing worse.
Yeah, there is. I can tell you. You lived it with me that night.
What's that?
You, me, Bart Boatwright, one or two others walking back to the car after the game, and I called my wife, who's sitting right over here, and said, if you hear this phone hit the ground, call 911.
Oh, you're talking about a couple years ago?
Yeah, because we had like $20,000 of laptops, camera gear, blah, blah. Nobody was feeling real safe that night. So,
especially when those sketchy kids walk past us.
that was it. All right, so for Clemson tomorrow, one of the biggest questions, not only for the game, but for the rest of the year, who steps up for wide receiver Bryant Westco Jr.? Obviously, it was a very scary situation in that SMU game. I've had a brain injury. I've had neck surgery. Nothing positive. It felt like it was coming out of that.
Yeah.
He's going to be gone for the year.
Just glad he's okay.
Listen, this feels like Deion Kane all over again. Not Deion Kane, the guy from Alabama.
Justin Ross.
Yeah, Justin Ross all over again.
Yeah. No, not as bad as Justin
Okay.
Ross. That's the good news. It's not as bad. Everything came back negative. Obviously, though, had enough where they said, okay, you're going to be out the rest of the year. But nothing, no surgery, nothing like that. So that's the good news. He was able to go home Sunday afternoon. So Dabo was extremely happy with the result because they thought it was going to be much worse when he went to the hospital that night, the Saturday night. But that, who's going to replace him? That's a great question. One thing I know Duke's going to do, they're not going to let Antonio Williams beat them. So TJ Moore going to have to step up again like he did against SMU. Tristan Smith, I think he played well in that last game as well.
Fans
I think
want
he's
to
a guy.
see him. He makes something happen. He brings some energy to the field every time he's out there.
Absolutely. You got your freshman tight end who's coming along. I think So they got weapons. They got options. A guy named Tyler Brown. I think Tyler Brown is a guy that you can see maybe step into this role and be pretty good. What you're going to see them do, this is what they're going to do. They're going to take Antonio Williams, move him out to the field side, and you're going to see Tyler Brown more in the slots. What you're going to see.
I said Jerron Brown earlier.
You did, but I figured you would you would know what you did.
All right. So, second question before we get into Duke. Great lead-in. Did a week off help an overhyped defense? Because you say it's been defensive line taking plays off at time. Listen,
secondary's back too, but it starts up front.
I think the linebackers are slow. Sammy Brown came in as the number one recruit in the country.
Sammy Brown ain't slow.
Sammy's not slow, but he's always going side to side to make a tackle. Right.
Here's the problem with Sammy Brown. Sammy thinks he's got to be Superman because other guys aren't doing their jobs.
Okay.
And so Sammy is still the same guy that he was a year ago. He's still fast. He's still good. He's still talented. It's just that he's trying to overcompensate for other guys that are not doing their job, whether that's on the defensive line or whether that's behind him in the secondary or whether it's right beside him with Wade Woodaz. That's where Sammy Brown is at, and they're trying to get him to understand just do what you're supposed to do. And one thing I didn't like during the game, I saw a situation where Sammy Brown recognized the play that SMU was doing it, and he goes to take, let Peter Woods know what's going on. Peter Woods totally ignored him. And guess what? They went right to that, and the play went big. It went for like a long run that SMU had. I'm like sitting there. I'm like, what are you doing? You got your linebackers telling you where to go and where to be. You're not listening to them. Those are the kind of things that are happening that they got to get fixed.
Okay. Well, when it comes to Duke football, you're talking about a head coach in Manny Diaz, who is if you will, a fallback candidate for Penn State with his connections there in State College. But the one thing that you can count on Duke here in the last few years, and really the last part of the quarter century, they're going to have a good quarterback, and they bring one in called Darian Mensah, who has thrown for 2,211 yards, but even more important to me is his decision-making. 17 touchdowns versus 2 interceptions.
Yeah, he's really good, completing 70% of his passes. He leads the country in passing yards per game. This guy is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But here's what I like about this matchup, and I know it's crazy to say that because Clemson's secondary is not very good, as we saw against SMU. But he likes to hold on to the ball, and he's given up 14 sacks this year. And you say, well, Will, that's not too much. Well, that's double what Cade Klubnik has been sacked. So you think Clemson's offensive line's bad and giving up, right? He's given up 14 sacks, so you can get to him. He's loose with the ball, so he fumbles it. So even though he's not got 2 interceptions, he does fumble the ball, a la Georgia Tech game, where the 95-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown on the opening drive. So there's going to be opportunities for T.J. Parker, Will Helt, Peter Woods, those guys up front to make some plays when he starts to scramble and tries to keep playing. Now, with that said, because he does that, things break down in the secondary and he finds guys wide open running down the field. So, and he's got some really good receivers.
Oh, yes, he does. We're going to get into that because
So-
it's really a tell of two different directions. But you look at this Duke offense, they average 33 points a game, and that's pretty it seems to me like they turned it on a couple of weeks ago about the end of the first quarter against Cal. I mean, they were down 21-7 and then just hammered Cal from that point on. But they kind of got two different running backs to watch out for tomorrow because Duke can do
Two
a little
very
bit
good
of
running backs.
everything. First of all, you got your normal running back, Nate Shepard. He's rushed for nearly 500
bulldozer.
yards, 4 touchdowns. But then Anderson Castle comes in, the bulldozer.
Yep.
You get a first down inside the 5-yard line. Guess what? You're going to see a full dosage of Anderson Castle down there.
Yep.
That's why he leads the Blue Devils with 6 touchdowns rushing on the year.
Yeah, I've watched them play several games, and those two running backs are like. First of all, Shepard's physical too. He's just as physical as Castle, and so. But he's the workhorse. Shepard is, and then as you said, they get into the red zone, and then they bring Castle in. Tired defense, and they take advantage of it. So they're really good. And Dabo even said it last week. He says you look at their numbers, and they're averaging 160 yards a game or whatever, and you think, well, that's not great. But Dabo says what you don't understand is they're throwing for 315.
Right.
So they're actually really good running the football. They just don't have to run it all the time. But when they do, they're hard to stop, and that's a great example of it.
All right, at wide receiver, again, you got to pay attention to a couple of different people. They have 10 guys that have caught the ball, 5 with double digits, but I kind of came down to these two. Cooper Barcotti, 39 receptions, 647 yards, and 4 touchdowns. But when they get in the red zone, you better watch out for this kid, Samir Higgins.
Higgins, yep.
5 touchdown catches on the year.
Yeah.
So, again, you're talking just like at running back, you're talking about multiple people contributing at wide receiver and tight end as well.
Yeah, I was about to say, and then the guy who's going to be a troublemaker for him is Jeremiah Hasley, their tight end, 6'3", 245. He's not your typical, prototypical tight end. He's a guy that can go spread out, runs nice routes, sort of a Jordan Leggett. I mean, that's Jordan Leggett size right there. And very athletic guy, can run in space. Another red zone issue for you. They got playmakers everywhere. Listen, they went to the transfer portal. They brought 9 guys in, and every single one of those guys they hit on. Every single one of them, they're starting. They're all making plays. And then when you look at this team, they're loaded on the offensive end, and they're not that great on defense. They got 2 very good defensive ends. To me, they're a group of 5 team. They've loaded up on offense, got a couple playmakers at defensive end to just enough to harass the quarterback to create some turnovers. You can beat this team, but you're going to have to do it scoring.
Yes, and that's probably what you mentioned, 8 interceptions by this defense. So it's been a little bit of all or nothing when it comes to that, but they've had the feast or famine. And then, of course, I got the feeling this is one of those games that, when you're it's special teams. And this one kind of interesting. They got a place kicker that hasn't missed inside of 40 yards, Todd Polino, but he's only 5 of 10 from outside 40. So, you're going to bend, hopefully don't break, and maybe keep him outside that 40 range. And guess what? He's just 50% at that point. I don't know. It's one of those things that I'm embarrassed. I'm looking for little things to star where I think it may make a difference for Clemson, and I never saw this coming in 2025, in which I'd have to do so.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And the funny thing is, you talk about their field goal woes. SMU came in just like, I think 1 for 6 or something.
And the guy looked like the Lou Groza winner.
And Dabo Swinney mentions that. He's like, what is if we playing the Ray Guy and Lou Groza winners every week? And I mean, because that guy makes 2 field goals from 50+ and then 1 inside 45.
Go back and look at the Georgia Tech game. They only have a timeout left, and they go out there. No
guy
problem,
never made a field goal over 50 yards,
also,
and it hooked inside. It went like this.
Such is life, for all the yin and yang. Clemson got a few breaks back in the day, in some
NC State
games.
game.
The NC State game. You know what? Just go ahead and let karma even itself out all in one year, start over again next year, and move on. But again, Clemson has a lot to play for. Number one, starting with the man in the mirror. You know, that's a lot of what I.
Looking at the man
You are not
in
Michael
the mirror.
Jackson. I'm the one set up like Scooby-Doo. All right? Next thing, Beverly's going to be doing the moonwalk over here, okay? But no, look at the man in the mirror when you get up in the morning and go challenge yourself that you're going to be happy with that man when you get back to your apartment tomorrow night after the game. That's called pride. That's called accountability. You know, anybody that likes to win, I'll show you a loser. So,
Right.
you know, from Clemson fans, it's homecoming. It's always a big deal. Yes, nothing's gone right, but man, Clemson's had a lot to celebrate in the last 6, 7, 8 years. So, you know what? What comes up must come down at some point, and let's just hope next year will be a trend back upwards.
Well, the good news is, for the most part, homecoming is always nice for Clemson alumni. Not a lot of fan bases can say that. Since 1971, 47-4-2. All right, Clemson's won 13 straight games on homecoming. And here's another catch for you. Clemson has not lost to Duke since 1980. That's 15 straight wins against the Blue Devils at Memorial Stadium. And also, Duke has not defeated Clemson in consecutive games in the series since 1969 and 70.
I'm
So,
sorry.
yeah, look at that man
I
in the
hope
mirror.
Manny Diaz doesn't find this over at the team hotel in Greenville and go, look what this guy's got to say about the game tomorrow. But having covered Clemson over the last 15 to 18 years, it's not in my thought process that they could actually lose back-to-back games at home against SMU and Duke. Now, if you said it was Georgia and Florida State, sure, just saying. But Clemson got to find a way to win this game tomorrow, get the record back toward even, and then take advantage of
And
November.
beat somebody with the pulse.
Beat somebody. Boy, it was so cool. I didn't realize who that was out here watching us 2 weeks ago till later on. It was Dave Roberts, who played 13 years with the Chargers, who's prominently featured in Pony Excess, Reggie Dupard, the old running back. And they were like, we're just glad y'all called us a team that has a pulse. I'm like, but that's where we are this year.
Yeah.
You know, and again, you're talking LSU firing their coach. Florida already fired their coach. Penn State already fired their
Virginia
coach.
Tech.
Virginia Tech's already fired their coach. Guess what? This is not minor league sports at this level, because I challenge you, like Jay Billis told me up in Charlotte, name a minor leaguer that's making $4 million a year. There's not.
There's not.
All right. Number two, I guess you're going to have to recycle coaches in this upcoming coaching
It's like the
series.
NBA.
No, so congratulations. You have now officially become the NFL, which is maybe what you
James
wanted
Franklin
to be all
Penn
along.
State.
Right.
James Franklin to Virginia Tech. Brian Kelly to Penn State. Who else we got? Billy Napier to South Carolina, maybe?
No. I think UAB's open or something like that. Napier might have to go back down to that level one time before he can bet. But my point being is, we see recycle head coaches through the NFL all the time, and we're now going to reach that point in college football. That's why I think AD has to be very careful right now and not just listening to the chatter out there.
Don't listen to fans. But here's another problem. You're going to the boosters and saying, hey, I need $3.5 million to pay this quarterback. And I need this much money to pay this defensive end. I need this much money to pay this defensive tackle. Can you give it to me? Sure, here's a check. How much you need? Boom, here you go. Now, if you start losing, they go to that AD and they say, hey, I invested X number of dollars. I'm not getting my return on investment. I want that coach fired. And that's what's happening, and they got to reel this back in. Because you can't have boosters fire. We're Auburn all of a sudden. I know you like that reference, but you become Auburn, where your boosters are telling you who you can and can't hire. The governor of Louisiana should never be telling LSU who's going to be their football coach, just like the governor of South Carolina shouldn't. Henry McMaster, remember when? So like that stuff shouldn't happen.
Yeah,
but it's happening because why? You're putting all this money up in these guys, and they think they got to say now. And
here's the thing.
That's what happens.
Some people will say college football's never been better. Look at the amount of upsets on a week-to-week basis, blah, blah, this, that. There's a lot of truth in that. There is a lot more equity in the game. I also think that there's one or two teams that got more money than anybody else, and you're going to see that play out. However, I think maybe this situation at LSU this week might bring things a little bit back toward normal because, just as you said, a governor should not get involved in hiring of a coach. Hey, Scott Woodward, he made a bad hire on Brian Kelly. He obviously made a good hire on their baseball coach because guess what? They just won the national championship.
Yeah.
So, the bad thing is when money gets involved, everything becomes more and more corrupt.
Yep.
I like to have as much money as possible, but you know what? I'm not sending out checks for an 18-year-old just to pay for my personal happiness. A, I don't have the money to do it. B, if I did, I'd much rather just go ahead and give it to my child and see it get wasted that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah.
All right, listen, enjoy homecoming. Get out there and have a great day tomorrow. It's going to be 60, 62 degrees, sunny.
Yeah, it's like somewhere in the
there.
60s. It's going to be
All
nice.
it's done in Blairsville, Georgia for about 3 weeks is rain consistency.
Same here.
I was glad to see some yellow up there. I was like, what's that yellow ball up there in the side? All right, real quickly, we got to thank our good friend Cliff Witherspoon up there. He keeps everything going on our Facebook page. Of course, that's Straight Up Sports, the website, straightupsports.net. Again, articles up from Bob Gillespie, Scott Kiefer, myself, McCain Childress, a lot of different links. And, we're just going to keep hammering it out as basketball season gets involved as well. But real quickly, I guess I'm going to go out on a limb. And it embarrasses me to say that I have to go out on a limb and predict that Clemson finds a way to win on homecoming tomorrow. Do I expect it? No. But I just cannot sit here in my right mind and think I'm going to pick Clemson to lose back-to-back games at home. I thought if Klubnik didn't play, they'd be in trouble versus SMU, and that was the case. Clemson finds a way to get to 4-4 tomorrow. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I'm picking Clemson to lose for the third straight time at home. So I got the Blue Devils winning this. I just think Clemson defense haven't shown me anything where they are going to be able to stop this kind of quarterback, and I just think Duke's going to have too much offense for him to keep up. So I got the Blue Devils winning 31-24.
Well, listen, regardless, we'll be back here next Friday to break it all down, take a look ahead to the Florida State game. And, of course, check Will out at Steeler Will. Also, his podcast on the Believe Network that he does.
Believe in Clemson.
Yep. And then also the ClemsonInsider.com. You can find us at straightupsports.net, me at Twitter at Sturgis Sports.
Also, I'll be in Newberry on Monday talking to the Newberry County Touchdown Club. So come and say hey, and we're going to talk a lot of Clemson football, some of it good, some of it bad, but come and say hey to us and check it out.
You don't see how much trouble I can get in on Monday by showing up at the Newberry Touchdown
Do it,
Club?
man. I'd love it, man. Come on. Let's go.
My wife has surgery Monday morning,
so
I want
right.
to take a moment and just tell her that we'll all be thinking about her and everything.
Absolutely.
But if I come heckle you at the
you'll
Newberry
be in
area,
trouble.
I might not have a house to go back to.
You might be coming home with me.
In Blairsville, Georgia. I like you. I don't want to live with you, all
I
right?
I don't want you to
Well,
either,
listen,
buddy.
everybody, enjoy the game tomorrow. Thank you to Lakeside Lodge. Remember, do not forget about their Thanksgiving extravaganza for $32, 6 different types of meats, more than 10 sides, awesome desserts. Just give them a call right here at the restaurant. That's 864-722-2800. See you next week.